Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And we are looking at game 2 play-a props in the Western Conference Finals here. Wolves and the Mavs. I keep wanting to say Nuggets. They are not around anymore, everybody. It's the Mavs and the Timberwolves. We've also got a Best Bets episode up. We're bringing you both these episodes each and every day now, moving forward throughout the rest of these playoffs. So continue to follow along, subscribe to that page. Also want you to head to thelines.com. Use the prop finder tool that we have up there to make sure that you are finding the best odds and lines available to you for all of these books that are giving us these play-up props and bets this NBA postseason. I believe we swept yesterday on the props. Nate had a pretty good day there as we looked at that other game, the other series rather as well. So we'll look to keep it going here and start it off with Jaden Michael Jordan McDaniels prop.
Yeah, we swept game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. You're kind of skipping ahead a day. We have no idea how we'll do in the Celtics Pacers game that is tonight, although hopefully well. Jaden McDaniels, yeah, I'm actually going to go over 5.5 rebounds and assists and leave the points out of this. I think the secondary look is points and assists because it's lower. It's only adding on 2 assists because, I mean, my theory here is he's proved he can hit threes, like 3 straight games now, 12 for 18, absolutely knocking them down. And now he can create off that. Now he can actually be a cog in this offense that really needs, secondary, tertiary playmakers. And that should free him up to also kind of like crash the glass, to just not just stand in the corner and be like that kind of spot up shooter. I mean, he had 3 assists on 8 potentials in game 1. So it's already starting to happen, right? I mean, where he's getting run off the line a little bit. We know about his hot shooting, but the adjusted pass to assist ratio is 17%, was actually 5th highest in the entire conference finals so far. So that's like just a tick below Luka. In terms of like where the quality of his passes, like he had no secondary assists. It was just him driving, kicking, and somebody maybe you could knock down that shot. So I think the playmaking is there. As far as the rebounding, he grabbed 4 of 7 rebound chances. So he's now gone over this in 3 of his last 4. Basically, the unders have been blowouts since the start of that series with Denver. It's just like not a competitive game, or that one game, game 4, where Denver just didn't miss a shot. Aaron Gordon went 11 for 12, and there were no rebounds available, and it was just unbelievable. But in his last 4, I mean, he's averaging 19. We know the points, 4.3 rebounds, 2 assists, and the potentials are there. But as far as rebounds, so Ant had 11 on 15 rebound chances last game, and that's because he was guarding Kyrie. That's because a lot of rebounds kicked out because Dallas missed a lot of threes, and he had those long distance rebounds, average 8 feet. Jaden in his last 4, his average distance is 10 feet. So he's grabbing him even deeper because he's been guarding Jamal Murray more, etc. I do think there's a little bit of a switch up happening here in terms of maybe Jaden on Kyrie a little bit more, or Ant just not on Kyrie. So it's just kind of a changing where those two guys are on the floor defensively should open up the opportunity for Jaden to grab a couple more boards. I mean, there's no reason that he's an incredibly athletic dude. There's no reason he shouldn't be in there crashing defensively. And his rebound prop being at 3.5 is pretty vulnerable in itself, but the odds are not great. We also talk about Rudy maybe being in trouble in terms of his minutes. I can get into that later. But if Rudy's not out there, then that is more all hands on deck, and it's a more fluid offense. Like, it's better for the assists, right? It's far better spacing. And for a guy like Jaden, even to get the points as well, because he can attack and he can still hit in the mid range. Like, honestly, I see a guy. I don't see a fluky shooting stretch here. I see a guy who's found his confidence very much so. Like game 1, 0 against Denver. Since then, he's just like, you know what, I'm locked in at this point. Like, very competitive dude, believes in himself, and he has shown that he can hit these corner threes, and then that's going to open up the rest of his game.
Yeah. It makes sense. It's a sharp look in terms of getting ahead of something and not waiting for this type of thing to happen and then being like, next game, oh, Jaden McDaniels had 4 assists. Let's take him again to get the assist, which is what the Fish do, right? This is you coming in and being like, this is my projection based on the adjustments that I would make, and I have no qualms with it. I mean, you have at least some data to show you that like the man is capable and is not just driving blindly to the. It's not like, some guys. It's like, yo, you never pass it when you are driving. You go up every time. Like, say Aaron Gordon, who did a lot of that in the last series. But either way, I think it's a sharp look. The 5.5 rebounds and assists. I mean, if he gets the 4 boards again, I think you're in a great position. He could easily get 5 for sure. And we'll see how the matchups adjust in general, because he did get owned by Luka Doncic. And to be fair, like, if he just does a better job of staying in front of Luka, I mean, I personally would be giving Luka a little bit more room at the 3-point line. Honestly, like I would be like, Luka, you haven't shown that you can hit these threes all playoffs. So I'd rather not be on Luka's hip behind him, because and my main point there would be if he's in front of Luka misses that little teardrop short or anything like that, this dude's in the best position to get those rebounds, right? Because now he's standing in between Luka and the rim. Ball should be bouncing right about where he's standing. So anything involving the rebounds this game for JMD, I think is going to be a nice bump to any bet that you could make. So let me go into a Luka under turnovers bet. And this is something that I was considering for game one. Didn't hit it. He went under. And now I'm going to go to it officially, because I do believe in what I've seen at this point from Luka against this Wolves team specifically. So he's gone under in 2 of 3 this season. In the game that he went over on the turnovers, he did not have Kyrie in that game, which is a large part of this bet as well. So in all of the games with Kyrie that he's played against the Timberwolves since Kyrie got to Dallas, he's gone under this number in all 3 of those games. If you want to know why, like I still am fully of the belief that like Luka is much more interested in scoring for the benefit of his team than he is passing at this point. In maybe it's, I don't know, just it's what I saw in this last game, and it could in part be this is me just trying to play pop psychologist, but like has Luka ever had as good of a chance to get to the finals as this one? Even in the conference finals series that he's been in 2 years ago was against the Dubs, it was like I don't think anybody really thought he was making it from there past that team, and now it's like, yeah, they're about as good as this Wolves team at this point. There's not much difference between them, and there could be a little bit of like, I'm going to make sure that we get there. I'm not passing to guys like Derrick Jones Jr. and Josh Green in the corner anymore if I can avoid it. So the passes have been fewer. The scoring has been up. He's at 35.5 a game versus this team in his last 3, and everything is down compared to his averages when it comes to touches and passing and all that. So if you look at the passes he had in game 1, he had 51. In the regular season, he averages 56. In the playoffs, he's been averaging about 58 and a half. If you look at the touches, he had 86 in game 1, and 91.8 in the regular season, and 92 and a half in the postseason. So about 92 is his regular, and he had 86, and could come right back up in terms of the touches, but the passes is a huge part of this, because I would say 7 fewer passes per game is a noticeable amount there that would, in terms of what he took in game 1. And the other part of that is your turn, my turn, or better yet, your half, my half when it comes to Kyrie and Luka, which is now essentially what they've done throughout the playoffs. They just switched it up on us in this last one and went Kyrie first and Luka to end things as the closer with 15 points in the fourth quarter. With that level of pressure off of him, and the fact that, like I said, I don't think he's looking to make cross-court passes into the corner nearly as much as he was during the regular season when this team took far and away the most corner threes in the league. That is not something that they did very much in this last game at all. In fact, it was the fewest corner threes they've taken in the playoffs in this last game. So all of that is just a narrative that I've clearly read here, which is like, Luka's just looking to score a bit more. He's not worried about Jaden McDaniels being on his hip, as I've mentioned a number of times now. There's really nobody. There really is nobody on this team that can guard him. I'm trying to think of other dudes in the league that can guard him, and there aren't many that are well suited for this. So I don't know why it's just like so obvious on the Wolves. Maybe it's because we've just thought that they've always had 3 dudes that could guard anybody in the league. But when Luka's playing like this, which is to say pretty intelligently, and I would say he could even play better than he did in game 1, to be honest, with the way that he took some ill-fated shots and on the like, then like, yeah, I don't think he's going to get 5 turnovers. He's gone under in 5 of his last 6 against this Wolves team in general, with or without Kyrie. So I'm going to go back to the well on it, even though it's minus 140 there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bankroll builder, right? Because of the odds, it's not necessarily going to have a nice payout, but it does seem likely. Yeah, I mean, 5 turnovers is a lot, even for Luka, a guy who has the ball in his hands that much. But I mean, yeah, would you consider also under on the 17.5 rebounds and assists if he's not, looking to set up as much, and he suddenly dipped a lot in rebound chances in game 1 here.
Yeah.
So
and not only dip. Yeah. I actually liked the over last game. I was like, what? 17.5. We've seen this thing at 20.5 for Luka. What are we doing here? I failed to really dive deeper into it and see that, like, yeah, his rebounds and his potential assists, especially, have gone way down as well against this team, especially with Kyrie. In the one game with Kyrie, or without Kyrie rather, against Minnesota, 21 potential assists. In all the other 3 games, no more than 15 potentials in all of those games as well. And then the rebounds rebounds, I even went back and watched every one of his rebounds in this last game, which was 6 of them, which, by the way, really cool function on NBA.com. If you go into the box score, you can click on the stat and it'll link you to the highlights of every single field goal attempt, if you clicked on that or whatever that you can click on. So that's a really good feature. All of his rebounds were just like, there's nobody around him. Somebody shot it from the opposite corner. It went long, and he got it standing on the baseline where he always is. But he ain't going up and getting those boards like that either, especially with those knees the way they are. So I would absolutely consider under the rebounds and assists bet there.
Yeah, different series for him defensively, and he was up for the challenge here in game 1. Played really well defensively. But yeah, we'll see. It's not going to be as easy for him to just collect boards the way he did against OKC, which is just a woeful rebounding team. So, I mean, that kind of brings me to Rudy Gobert here, which I'm fading. I'm fading him once again, but this time instead of under 12.5 points, I'll go 27.5 PRA altogether here. Because he actually would have gone over the points if not for the best defensive play of Luka Doncic's career, breaking up a lob in the fourth quarter that would have gotten Rudy to 14. But why do I think, he's going to regress? I just don't think he's that much of a threat for like the 14 plus rebound game, first of all, because I think they have to adjust his drop defense first off, and he's going to be more at the level and therefore less available to grab boards. He only got 7 of 13 rebound chances last time out because Dallas was just so efficient in the paint. And Derek Lively definitely would like the over 7.5 on his boards, continues to just star in the playoffs and just be incredibly tough to move. Like, not a dude who's going to give up rebounds easy for Gobert on either side. So I don't, the rebounds is what I worry about when I'm bundling these stats together. Like, I'm not worried about assists in any way. He has 1 assist in 6 of his last 9 playoff games. And since Conley came back in game 6, he's only averaging 2 potential assists per game, 1.3 total assists. So, he's 9th on the team in points created off assists in that span. So it is really the rebounds that would concern you. The points, like, he is just not a playmaker in that sense. He's gone under his points in 6 of 8 now. We talked about the lucky shots in game 7 to get one of those 2 overs. And he had 13 paint touches last game and had 2. And it's like, Minnesota's going to look at this stuff and be like, all right, let's fix our offense a little bit here. Rudy, we don't really want you, we want you finishing, if anything, setting screens and getting back on defense. Like, we want to unlock Ann Edwards, and we want to take fewer threes and get a higher shot quality diet here. And in these bounce back games for the Wolves, like, Rudy has not really shown out. He had 11 points and 5 turnovers in game 4 after they lost to Denver. He had 18 points in game 5, granted, because, Jokic was maybe a little tired from dropping 40 on his head. So he was able to score on the other end, save a little bit of face. And then he had 8 in the game 6 blowout where he only took 8 shots because the Wolves were rolling. And if the Wolves get rolling, it's not like feeding Gobert for lob after lob. No, it's just him slotting into his role. And then they're sharing the ball, moving well. Or there's the alternative where he starts to lose a little bit of minutes because he's just not defending these 2 guys very well and had been a problem. Plus minus be damned. What it shows you is that Kai Ruka were both very comfortable going against Rudy.
To be fair to Rudy Gobert, perhaps fewer 2s go in, but I'm not going to bank on Luka and Kyrie missing more of those easy 2s that they were making in that game. If the drop defense is the play, it's a bad play. I think that's been established. And if it's not drop defense, then what's Rudy doing in the game? Shout out Ev Scrimshaw once more from the lines, who hit me up yesterday and was like, hot take, I don't think this is a Rudy series. I think Rudy's going to get played off the floor is what he told me. And it didn't quite materialize because he still got the minutes in this last game, but something's got to give, as the old Beastie Boys song goes. Something has to give here, and it's got to be figured out before too long, because I don't know you want to go down 2-0 to Dallas, who, honestly, they've been so good on the road. That has Dallas this season, one of the best road teams in the league this season. So I'm not saying they can't come back from a 2-0 deficit where they have to win in Dallas for the Wolves, but who wants to go down 2-0? Yeah, this is as close to must win as you're going to get for a team that in this round of the playoffs. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see fewer Rudy minutes, but also just keep fouling him, man. You're going to get 1 out of 2 consistently. He's been shooting 52% from the free throw line in the playoffs. If he's got a dunk, just hang on his arm. That's that simple, and you'll help yourself a ton. So I'm going to close it out with an under as well. kind of seems like we both think that Dallas is right to win this one again. I'm not putting words in your mouth. Let me just say for myself, like, I'm not gonna be surprised either way. Mike Conley, under 20.5 PRA, another dude who not quite made for this series, to be honest. And it's not just the defense, right? Where like, okay, well, I guess we'll put you on Derrick Jones Jr. And that worked fine. Derrick Jones Jr. looked so uncomfortable shooting those threes yesterday. I feel like I got away with one, or 2 days ago, whatever. But I feel like I got away with one when I got that 12 PR that I needed for him to go over. And it was mostly the shooting that was terrible, but the rebounds too. I mean, he had 4 boards. Either way, like, it's not just because Mike Conley is a little bit of a liability on defense. To be honest, it's much more that, like, the offense that he played in these previous series was a little bit predicated on Ant getting trapped or double teamed or blitzed, or however you want to look at it, and having to get rid of the ball in a situation where Mike Conley's in space with the ball and able to, like, look at an imbalanced defense and do what he wants. And the PRA were always a great play, because if he has the option to get the bucket or to get the assist, just take both, because he's going to have a lot of opportunities to do either when he has the ball in his hands. This has been like a wall defense, essentially. Like, there's not as much corner 3 shooting going on for the Wolves outside of JMD. Like, McDaniels hit all of those corner 3s. Cat barely took any because PJ Washington's sticking to him. But everybody else is kind of just like, all right, well, where's Ant? And, like, I have to make sure that I am a body. If I'm on the free throw line or anywhere around the wing, I have to be a body that steps into the paint to make sure Ant doesn't get his, which does leave Mike Conley a little bit more open on the above the break on the wing, but not like nearly as much as if everybody just goes to Ant on one side of the floor and then now Mike Conley's on the other side and it's wide open. Now it's a lot more, there's just 3 dudes, foul line extended and up. And that's where Mike Conley lives alongside of Ant Edwards, right? So he's not finding himself in space with the opportunity to go like 3-on-2 and just make really good decisions and carve up a defense. He's playing a lot more like, I've got my dudes still on me. Who really, if it depends where he goes, because if he goes into the corner, it's Luka who's on him if he's on that side of the floor. Otherwise, you're still seeing his matchup. Who was his matchup in this last game? I'm already at times it was Kyrie as well, was the other thing. Kyrie, very good defender, very underrated defender. I think that's been talked about in the playoffs as well. So for him, like, if Ant's not catching doubles in the same fashion, then maybe the 7 dimes on 10 potentials that he saw in the last game won't be there. He did have 11 potential assists in this last game. He only got 3. There's room for positive regression. Absolutely. I totally concur with that notion that, like, it's likely that he gets a few more than 3 if he has another 11 potential assists. But I would also argue, because I looked at the actual assists that he had. I couldn't really see, but I looked at plenty of the plays with him. He's not giving guys wide open looks. There's not lobs at the rim for Rudy like there were in the last series. That was a big part of it. Was, like I said, once you get 3-on-2, now he's driving to the basket, and someone's got to decide if they're going to come up and guard him or if they're going to guard Rudy. And he had lob after lob to Rudy in that series against Denver and against Phoenix, who we know is terrible at defending lobs and the pick and roll man and all that stuff. So with slow-footed Nurkic. So, like, that's just not there for him. The rebounds, I mean, that whole Denver series was an anomaly. And to be honest, so was the Phoenix series, where he was just grabbing board after board and all of a sudden looked like Hakeem Olajuwon Conley for some reason with the amount of rebounds that he was getting. I mean, I joke, but it was still like he was getting over the 2.5 or 3.5 prop that he was seeing every game, including this one. I don't think that's going to be the case anymore. First of all, this is a way better rebound. Well, Phoenix was a good rebounding team in the regular season. They didn't show up to that series. I'll say that. But for Denver, like, yeah, Dallas has proven to be a better rebounding team at this point since the trade than Denver. And they've proven to give up a lot fewer offensive rebounds as well, which ended up being one of the biggest Achilles heels for Denver in this last series. If you look at his rebounds versus this team, this season, and it dates back to 2 games last season as well. He's got just 4.2 rebound chances and 2.5 rebounds per game against this team, and 2.4. It's right about where he's at. But those 4.2 rebound chances, fine, he's getting 50% of them because he's picking up a lot of stuff off the floor, right? And just being like, oh, well, I guess no one jumped up to get this board, so I'll grab it down here on the floor where I play. And that was the rebound that he got in this last game was the same concept. So I also think it's either he or Rudy that is the outlet that needs to be used here as like, well, we need to get a little bit more Nas on the floor. And potentially NAW. I know you don't think this is a good series for him. I thought at least he would come out and be crucial on defense enough to, like, be out there. But he didn't really limit anybody with his defensive minutes either. So maybe Conley's still out there above a guy like NAW, but like as far as NAZ goes, I still think we're going to get 24 to 25 minutes for him. And that means that either Rudy or Mike Conley is going to be probably the first dude off the floor, especially if Jaden McDaniels isn't missing threes. So I think if you add the potential for a few less minutes, maybe around 28 instead of 30, 31 for Conley, even fewer chances to get the PRA that he needs here.
Yeah, I would think Kyle Anderson's in there before just because of the way, he's been a zero offensively since the start of that Denver series. Not about the matchup necessarily. It's just like he's just lost whatever magic he seemed to have there. No, I agree with Conley. Just, he can do really well out there and not compile a ton of stats. Like, he is the coach on the floor, right? He is the adult in the room, as you always like to say. And that's why, you see him contribute without necessarily going over 20 PRA. Like, it's a far more unsettling feeling to take the over on that, which we've hit a couple times, but it was damn close. So I think I'm fine going with the under here. I will once again say, so far it's only up a bet 365, but under 1.5 turnover for the man who does not turn over the ball. He had 1 in game 1. He's now had 0 or 1 in 5 of his last 6 playoff games. So I think that is a good look, as well as just like all the unders for Mike Conley. But yeah, the books agree with you on the assist regression coming, because it's still at 6.5, even after getting 3 last time out. So I think you got to bundle them together, because he's either going to dime up or score. I don't think he's necessarily going to do it all.
Yep, agreed. And I'm fine with adding the points in there. I thought about the fact that like he missed a lot of shots in this last game, but also once again, same concept for why I'm fine with the under on assists for him. He's not just finding himself wide open with the opportunity and to make a decision about just shooting the 3, driving to the basket unmolested, or throwing up an alley-oop. All 3 of those things are not going to be available nearly as much as they were in the last series. And so, I don't know that he'll have the opportunity to do all of them with a lower usage in general. So that is all the time, though, that we have here for you in Play Up Props. Continue to follow along and subscribe to that page. We also have best bets up for this game, too. And we're going to have these for every game moving forward throughout this postseason. So until we see you next, happy betting.